Hello, ladies. Welcome to the podcast Living in Your Feminine with me, your host, Victoria Janke. This is a safe place for you, sisters. We're going to talk about all the feminine subjects, what it means to be a woman, how you thrive as a goddess, how you be successful in business. But we're also going to talk about subjects that people don't normally talk about, like miscarriage, because we want to educate people and also that women don't feel alone anymore. I have amazing experts who are going to give you so much value. So get a cup of tea and let's go. Welcome, ladies, to another beautiful episode of Living in Your Feminine. Today, my guest is Sophie Brandt Corstius. She's from the Netherlands. She is a transition coach, social entrepreneur, and she coaches families and helps women who are high achieving. We met a few months ago. That's so cool. We met in Spirit Airlines. She was literally sitting next to me, tall, blonde, blue-eyed like me. I was like, she looks like my sister, and her energy is just so incredible. And I started to talk with her. We went together to a Tony Robbins event, and from then we have been friends. She went to my women's circle, and I'm so excited to have her here with me today because we share something in common, not just the love for women and helping other people. No, we also both had a very interesting experience. But first of all, welcome, Sophie.
Thank you so much, Victoria. It's so good to meet in so many places in the world and also to be on this podcast right here, right now with you.
So excited. I'm starting my podcast, each podcast episode, with a random question. The random question that I have for you is, when you were traveling the first time by yourself, which country was it and how old were you?
Yes. So I think seeing all the mums, I would never let my daughter go the way I was released. I went to study in Chile and I realized I didn't know any Spanish. They told me that a few months before. So I actually had to travel to Argentina to learn Spanish ASAP. And I was
Chile or Argentina?
To Argentina. I flew to Argentina to learn Spanish, Argentinian, which as a tip doesn't get you anywhere in Chile because it's very different languages. But a lot of wine got me through there and a lot of experiences I got to win there. But I was 19, little puppy. There was no smartphones yet. I don't know how I managed. I'm thankful for my mom that she did let me go, but I would never let anyone at the age of 19 go to South America that way. It was wild times, yeah, but it was great times.
So interesting. Another thing that we have in common, I just realized, because when I was 19, I went to be an au pair in New Zealand. And my English wasn't that good then. I was like, oh, okay, I need to. So I took some English lessons in New Zealand while I was an au pair, but I was also 19. And I mean, New Zealand and Chile, these are very far away countries from, like, you're from the Netherlands, I'm from Germany. So yeah, wow, okay, I didn't know that.
Neither did I, and it's like opposite ways, right? We came from Europe and both of us just spread, one to the right and one to the left south of the world. That's really incredible.
And we're kind of the same age too, right? I'm 33, You're 36?
36,
yeah. Wow.
So maybe you should let your daughters go at 19 because they'll end up in a podcast together.
Yes. And they meet in Spirit Airlines on the way to a Tony Robbins seminar. That is so cool. And I remember the moment when we met. What did I ask you? I think I asked you for a sleeping pillow or something. My neck was like hurting and you had like 2 pillows because you had one pillow for your back and one for your neck. And that's how we started our conversation. First of all, thank you that you gave me your pillow. But we were talking and I was like, why do you need a pillow for your back? And you told me that you had an accident.
Yeah, indeed.
And that's when and I was like, oh, you had an accident. And now that's why I think we're like soul sisters. What you told me then, it's incredible because in 2016, you had a near-death experience where you got hit by a truck. And what is so crazy, I myself had a near-death experience in 2016 and I got hit by a truck. So I'm like, I've never met anyone like in the same year, kind of similar accident. We kind of look the same. And now I was like, wow. Do you want to share what happened and also how this changed your life. Because if you go through a near-death experience, this does something to you. And I'm curious, like, how it was for you.
Thank you. I think, yeah, just how it changed, man. I can speak for hours on that. And it's like my heart started thumping even like bigger and faster as you were talking about it. Because it is. I've never met someone who was hit by a truck, let alone in the same year, let alone who now lives and thrives and blooms the way you do too. And yeah, it humbled me more than anything. I really feel that I got a second shot at life. I think I only just came out of the worst patches of it. It's been 8 tough years of recovery, and now I can actually look back at it. But whilst being at it, it was so humbling. I learned that I really attached so much value to what I was able to do and practice and achieve. Like, I was a professional kite surfer back then, and I had companies with my then partner in Australia, and I lived on the other side of the world, and I was very strong physically. I was very fast in my brains. And then, yeah, call it universe, call it a truck, call it whatever you want to call it. It put me on a big hold, on a big stop. I wasn't able to think. I wasn't able to speak. I wasn't able to walk. I was in insane levels of pain for a long time, and I had to learn to surrender to that and to accept it for what it is. And all these things sound like really wise lessons now, but it was a tough ride for sure.
So what did you need to accept? So how was the Sophie before the accident, and how was she after? So you said you were super busy. Did it like kind of slow you down? And also, like, in the moment when you had the death experience, like, did you feel you're about to die, or you could die? What were your thoughts?
I think what I've heard people say is that it goes really slow, like everything goes in slow motion. I'm not sure if you experienced that. I'm really curious to hear what you think of that. But I remember the accident very vividly, and I remember everything slowed down, and I just gained superpowers. It was ridiculous. Like, I got this sharpness in my mind, this strength in my body, which is also why I didn't break every bone in my body and didn't shatter on a big electricity post, because that's where the motorbike and I were flying towards too. And you just, like, I was able to I guess really act. And what they taught me later on in rehabilitation clinics is that in those moments you can actually choose, which is already a very big distinction. You can choose to go unconscious, or you can stay conscious. And I was so alert, and I've got such a fight response. If you think about the fight, flight, freeze response in shocking situations, I fight. So I stayed there, and I just cramped up every muscle in my body, which then was quite hard to reverse. But that got me to live. And there's another way is to go unconscious, and then you become floppy and you go with what is there. So there's a different response to that in general, and it really showed me what I do, or what happens when shit hits the fan in life.
And what were your thoughts? So your muscles were like tensing. What were? Do you remember your thoughts?
Yeah, I did. We had quite a big motorbike. I was riding it, and I remember my auntie. She was. It's funny what you think of at these moments, right? I remember that I had to pee before I got on the bike, and I was like, I'll do that at home, which I now never ever do. So it changed the appreciation I have for my bladder. There's always time for a pee, ladies and gentlemen too. And I thought, if I would have peed, this truck wouldn't have hit me. And if I would have peed, I wouldn't be this urgent to go to the toilet right now, which was a very random thought to have. And I really got that I needed to act to live. And I remember that I thought, why is this truck hitting me? It became like a movie, that it was a scene that someone was trying to get me or something, because it was such a weird situation as well as it merged onto me. So I thought someone was getting to me, or I needed to escape. So yeah, I turned into like Uma Thurman. I channeled my inner Kill Bill when I was going through that.
Wow. I remember when I had my near-death experience. So I was on my bicycle on the way to work when I was working in an office, and I got hit by a truck that was turning right. And I remember, like, everything was, like you said it, like in slow-mo, like literally it was like slow, and I felt I was stuck between, I felt my leg, and I knew if he doesn't stop, because I was under his wheels, if he doesn't stop, I'm gonna die or I'm gonna lose my leg. And since then I'm actually religious as well, because not that I just felt there's my Nana, who's like my angel now, she was with me, protecting me. I saw my life. So there was like a light, and I saw my life like in these like little projector movies, you know. I saw my life, not like, you know, they say you see it like your past, but I saw my future. I saw myself being on like screens. I saw myself being in the US. I saw myself having kids, and I was like, wow, this is my life that I still have. And I was praying to God in this moment. I was like, please, 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 don't let me go yet. I promise you, I do everything to fulfill this. I promise you, I will do my best to fulfill these things. Please, 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 don't let me go now. And I remember I was like trying to get out of the from the truck, and then it felt like hours for me. It was probably just seconds. Then the truck stopped, and I crashed down, and I was bleeding, and they took me in the emergency. And I remember when I woke up, there was like 2 doctors, 3 nurses, and they were all standing around my bed, and they were like shaking their heads, and they were like, Miss Janke, you had more than a guardian angel. You had more than luck. Normally these kind of accidents, people die, have really bad head injuries, or lose their legs, because I hit my head and my back and my leg. And what I had in the end was a concussion and some bruises, right? So, and this was for me the moment in my life where I realized life is so freaking short. I can literally go to work, and I can get hit by something, and I can die. So why not doing everything in my power to fulfill my dreams, to help others to fulfill their dreams? And for me, and I'm curious how it was for you, for me this was a big change where my mom always says it was my second birthday. So now I'm celebrating this day, the 17th of July, and I'm just like, I'm celebrating. I do everything I want to do. I moved to the US. I went out in an abusive relationship. I was like, I'm done with this. I made a promise in this moment, and I'm keeping this promise. And I hope everyone who's listening here that you don't need an accident like this in order to live your life. Let our story be a reminder that this is your life, and that we only have this life. And some of us have 30, 40, 50, 80, 90 years here, or less or more. But make the most out of it. Go and fulfill your dreams, because you never know when it's over. And so how was the healing journey for you when you got hit by the truck, and you were then, how long were you in the hospital? So could you move? Could you not move? How did your life change after this new birth, I would call it?
Well, thank you for sharing your story there too. There were so many questions that you just put in one sentence, and there was a question that really came through whilst you were sharing your story, what your wake-up call was. And I love how you summarized, you know, to live your dream life. Life is short, to go for it. And they sound like cliches, but you also added to it what that looks like, not just the concept of it, and what that looks like if you want to move to America and have the families. That's what it looks like. And what success or what a dream life looks like for anyone is so different. And I'll try to answer the questions that you just asked me in one hit. And there was, I think, the lesson that I really pulled is that there's this saying that if life, you know, if you need a little wake-up call, it would come in the shape of a feather. And if you don't listen to the feather, it will come in the shape of a brick. And when a brick hits you, usually people notice. If you don't listen to the brick, you'll get the truck. And I used to joke. I was like, what if the truck hits you twice? Like, have you then been really stubborn? Because mine hit my head and then it went out and then it hit me again. So yeah, I got the truck twice. And the recovery of that was, if I look back at it now that I can realize, I was in shock for a long time. And I was quite hooked to that like invincible feeling of the shock because I didn't feel pain. I was able to do everything and I was very clear. So I ended a very unhealthy relationship right there and then in the hospital as well, which was a fiery moment. I can tell you that. Like I couldn't move. I could still talk. And I was in hospital for one night because I was fighting, right? I wanted to get the hell out of that hospital. And I really resonate with what you're saying, the religious experience, the angels that had my back. Like I realized in the moment as I was crashing, like this is live or die. Like this is the moment where you can choose to go at 27. And I thought, you know what? No 27 club for me. I thought I was living my life to the fullest. I was doing everything that I loved. And I always in life couldn't imagine what life would look like after 30. Now I realize that I was back then not capable to even fathom what life could look like. Like there was almost just that much imagination that I had and I was living that. And then it slowly opened up to what you can do when you let go and when you surrender. And when you let others contribute to you, when you let others help you heal, and when you let others, I don't know, touch, move, manipulate, crack, stretch my body and my brains in ways that I could never imagine, but they were so beneficial. And yes, sometimes it does hurt, and sometimes it is freaking uncomfortable. And what I really learned to trust was my inner doctor. I think deep down inside, I knew what my body needed. It took a long time to reconnect, which also gets back to the mission that I got in life is to get out of our head, out of my head and back into our body. Because in our body and mind is where the answers lay. So there was a gazillion doctors and nurses that really wanted to fix me and, you know, that really were frothing on all the injuries that was there because I was like a bonus package of stuff that was wrong and rattling and crooked. And I had spinal injuries. I had a lot of bleedings in my brains. I had ribs sticking out, like all the things happening. And, you know, people wanted to fix it so bad, which I really appreciate. All the credits to people in hospital, nurses, alternative health systems, like it all works. And I learned how to shop around and to really trust intuition and guidance to figure out or to be figured out that whatever came, like whenever I would hit a threshold that it hurt so bad or so much that I didn't want to continue anymore, because there was these points, it can get dark when things really hurt, that there was someone or something that were like, have you tried this? Do you know this person? And then there'd be an expert that would adjust my neck, you know, or there'd be an expert that helped me use my eyes again, or yeah, all sorts of things, or just like use my wrist, you know. There was so many small parts and big parts that hurt. So yes, surrender more than anything and really appreciate and reconnect to my body. Does that answer all the questions that you asked?
Yes, it did. There was, let me reframe that. There was a lot in it that I want to reframe. So the first thing is to, and that's very feminine, is to trust your intuition, to like listen what your body is telling you, getting out of your head and getting into your body. And that's not just after recovery, you know, from a bad injury. It's like in general in life, right? So especially us as women, we are born with this gift that we're like emotional beings. We have a strong intuition. We all do, men and women, but I believe women even more. And what happened in our society is that women start to be very much in their head. But once we like connect with our soul, with our heart, with our body and listen to our intuition, then we are guided. And I mean, you girls probably have that, that you had a feeling once in your stomach and you listened to this feeling and it was protecting you, or it was guiding you in a very beautiful way. And I also like what you said, Sophie, about letting others help you. We don't have to go through things alone. This is what I tell my clients as well. You don't have to go alone through something. Find a community. Find like doctors like you had who help you. Find like coaches, mentors. We are human beings. We're not supposed to be alone. We are a community. So I loved that you said this. And so interesting that you also, I didn't know this, ended your relationship. And I mean, sometimes in life, you know, things can end, and then to make space for new things. And it's so beautiful. And trust your inner doctor was also very powerful. Trust yourself. Like we as human, our thoughts can make us sick, but our thoughts, and we can actually heal ourselves. I mean, of course, there are some things where you need a doctor. Of course, I'm not saying we don't need doctors, but thoughts and the mind can do a lot to your body. That's why there's like the placebo effect. There's why you have like stories from like cancer patients where the doctor says you're gonna die for sure, and they're like, no, I'm not accepting what you tell me. I know I will survive, and they survive. You know, so our thoughts are so strong. And we are the directors of our life, of our mind. And then there was another thing you said I want to reframe, is that life will bring you a feather and tells you like, hey, it's time to change something up. And then maybe you had this, I had this many times in my life. Actually, before I had my truck accident, I was very depressed. My nana just died. I was in an abusive relationship. I worked in an office, so I hated my life, right? And life was keep telling me, like, look, change, get out of this relationship, like, change the work. Like, they were, like, giving me signs, and I was just ignoring it. And then they were, like, sending us a truck. Literally, it's like, now you need to listen. You're not gonna die, but you need to change stuff in your life. And I was like, okay, I need to change it. And probably for you the same. And I wish you that you never experienced this, what we experienced, but listen to what universe is telling. Listen to what your intuition is telling you. You know, deep inside of you, you know, start to listen to it. And there's a great exercise I want to share is to come back into your intuition. It's breathing, touching your belly and your heart and asking yourself, like, do I want to be with that person? Do I want to go to this party? Like, take 3 deep breaths in and out, touch your belly and ask yourself that question, and you can journal about it. Sophie, is there any tip that you can give the listeners that you do to listen to your intuition? I know you travel the world. You're also, like, as a woman, you're building now a retreat center in Mexico. That's very brave. Like, is there any tips you can share? Do you do any meditation or something?
Thank you. Oh my God, I think we can talk for hours on this, because as you were saying things, I've got so many things to elicit that. And I think the biggest lesson, like you said, and I can't emphasize that enough, is to not wait for the freaking truck like we did. I think in order to do that is to stay connected to your body. As women, we are sensual beings. I think all of us are, men, women, and non-binary. We all are, all animals are, all living creatures are. And to stay connected to our heart, to our gut. And ladies, we do have a huge bonus, and we call that a womb. It's such an important organ, and it's got so much truth in there to honor that. And by us being out of our head and into our feelings and into our intuition and going for that, we also inspire men and women who are not yet there. So it's also, it's a thing that we have to do, almost. Stay connected, stay out of your head. And what I do in order to do so is I slow down. The breathing helps, the being in nature, and you don't have to go into a forest or on a hike for 3 days. Just touch a tree. Just look at an animal. Just look at your own body in wonder. And I think being in wonder, being in awe, and being curious and staying curious to the world around me is what keeps me out of my head and more connected to my body. I dance a lot. I do a lot of yoga. I do a lot of water sports, and I really get a lot of people out on the water too. The ocean is a big factor in my life, and that gets me back in my body. It humbles me. I think when I get into my head, what they say, when you get into your head, you're dead. I think that's where a huge part of my ego lives, which gets me to places. It also gets me in trouble. So staying connected to my body and staying connected to each other and staying connected to everything around us, which is easier said than done, but it's small practices. Breathing, like you said, into your stomach, into your gut, into your womb, whatever you need. Motion, moving, getting outside. Touch, physical touch is huge. If not someone else, do it yourself. And it can be like holding your own hand. You know, I think inner child healing, all those kind of things are very, very actual subjects right now. Even holding your own hand, even touching your own body really gets you back. Whatever you need to calm the F down, because that's when we're here. That's what's there. The biggest lesson, to not wait for the truck.
Yes, and
I answer it.
Yes, and I love what you said about touching yourself. I do that. Touching yourself. I mean,
touch me,
of course, why not touch yourself in many ways? But I do that the same. Like last night, I had a keynote, and you came to Berlin to support me. Love you so much for that.
I love you too.
Oh. And I always do that. I hug myself and I kiss my right shoulder, I kiss my left shoulder, and I say, I love you. I'm so proud of you, Vicky. And I'm like, the body doesn't know if someone else is doing this to you or yourself. So it feels the same and you will feel the love. So like really giving yourself the love, your inner child, the inner child, the love. And I love what you say about going into nature. I do that. I go into the nature. I touch a tree that really grounds me. And what I also do is I look in the sky and I imagine the universe. And I'm like, if I'm at the moon or an alien looks at Earth and then looks at me, my problems, like I'm an ant. So my problems are like so small. And I'm like, why am I freaking out about like the rude coffee person in my favorite coffee shop? It doesn't matter. It's like so small and I have just this one life. Why am I worrying so much? You know, it's like, and looking up in the sky, like you should try that. It really calms me down, and thinking of, oh, okay, like I'm on Earth. I'm like a little ant, like walking around. Not saying it doesn't matter, the problems that we have, but sometimes we make our problems way bigger than they are. And also really listening to yourself, what you need, your intuition, not waiting for the truck. You don't need a truck to hit you. Just go with your feeling. And also dancing, that's another thing we have in common, like movement. Why is movement so good? Movement is good because it changes your state. It's like, try that when you're very sad and you want to, not saying you shouldn't be sad. It's important to feel emotions. Emotions are there to move, right? But it's like how long you want to stay in this emotion. You can stay there for half an hour, or an afternoon, or you can stay there for days and get depressed. So there's always a decision you can make, right? And in order to change this emotion, what you can do is you can do jumping jacks, you can put on like a music that you love, you dance, you scream, and it will shift your state. So movement is so important. Wow, Sophie, I love that. I knew that this would be such an inspiring conversation, and I'm even more impressed how much we have in common. That is incredible.
I think we're here to stick together. If you see us, you see how close we are together, sitting on one little couch in front of one microphone.
But that's another thing, right? Don't wait for things. I was like, I have my microphones in Miami now, but I want to record it. I'm in Europe right now. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to make it work with one microphone. I'm going to just sit in front of the microphone with the women I'm interviewing. And it's also touch, you know, we're coming closer. And complexity is the enemy of execution. So if you do something too complex, you're just not doing it. So don't wait for things. Just freaking do it. And don't wait for the truck. So I thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to share? Where can people find you? I will, of course, link it. Is there anything you want to share with the listeners?
Oh, there's so much to share. And I think we'll get there at one point. There was a thing that I'd really love to, an extra little tip to have the follow your heart or listen to your heart. There's a very easy exercise to do if the connecting with nature or whatever sounds a bit too woo-woo. Just put your hand on your heart and spin it in circles. Just rub your heart and you might just get your own heartbeat back. Like before I crashed, I didn't feel my own heartbeat. I had no idea what was thumping in my chest because I didn't feel it. I was so caught off my own body. And by doing that, it's called heart math. By doing that, I got back to my own heartbeat, but also to what's in there. My wishes, my desires, my core beliefs, like all of that slowly came back by reconnecting to that heart. According to the touch of touching your own heart, touching each other, there's so many cultures, like traveling around the world showed me how many cultures, they fidget, they do each other's hair, they massage each other, they touch each other, they sit next to each other. And we've become quite apathic almost of touching each other, like even sitting this close to each other. We realize how much we have in common, but also just the vibe and the feel. You'll need less words when you touch someone, when you hold someone's hand. It's fine, you know? We don't get cooties like what we used to think of back in the days. So those are the things that I really wanted to give as an extra when we were thinking about and talking about how to get out of your head and into your body. You can find me on Instagram, Sophie Brandt. My Sophistic coaching page will be on soon too. And for any transitions to be made, holla, we're here.
We're here for you. And sister, touch your heart now. Give someone a hug that you love, or maybe even a stranger, and make them smile. And I see you next week. If you like this episode, please rate, subscribe, and share with other women. Let's create a community of women living in their feminine and supporting each other. If you want to stay connected with me, you can come and follow me on my personal account at victoria.jankel. Until then, I see you next Thursday. Be thriving, goddess, and live in your feminine.